Welcome to my beginner airbrush tutorial. I'm going to go over a couple things that are some of the other videos seem to have stepped over, or some things that every beginner should know. So basically what I'm starting off with here, this is the IWATA HPCS. This is the very same airbrush that you can get from Hobby Lobby. I believe I got one of those Hobby Lobby coupons you can get from the internet. It's some ridiculous amount of discount. I think the kit comes with some paint, a box, comes with a little moisture trap here, which I really like. What I'm doing now is I'm taking my pencil and my ruler, and I'm just going to lay out a quick grid. It's going to help us in practicing. Quick and easy, dirty method of laying out some practice grid. Speaking of practice, chances are you're not going to want to spend a lot of money on your media or your substrate, which is a fancy word for whatever the crap you're painting on, right? So what you do, go find some place that wants to give away stuff like this. So this is an old calendar from 2012. And the back side of the paper is perfect for doing some airbrush stuff. So as far as the airbrush it goes, the setup, you should know at this point probably where the paint goes and what the actions do. Alright, this is a dual action airbrush. So we're going to mix up a little bit of paint right here real quick. I'm going to put some reducer in. You know, all this I use primarily Createx. That's not because I get anything back from them, but it's what I like. It's what works for me. So we got here the Auto Air. This is the 4010 reducer, and we're going to start off with some wicked black. Just dump a little bit of paint in there. Now, when you mix this stuff down, you want it to be fairly runny, but you want it to cover too. Now, when I mix this stuff down, what I'm doing to mix it the quick and easy way is put my finger over the tip of the airbrush, and then I pull the trigger back. I don't know if you can hear that, but makes a million little bubbles, and the air agitates the paint, mixes everything up with the reducer real nice. It's a lot easier than using a toothpick. So now we're ready to, we're going to start. Let's flip to the other camera here, and basically what I like to do, practice. See, I'm getting spiders, but we'll just come in here and we're going to put some dots down, and that's going to get your finger in line with your head so that you can practice getting your coordination down. Your coordination, your hand-eye coordination is key. So back to the back to the dots. You can see what I'm doing is I'm letting the air run all the time. And then when I get where I want to put the dots down, and obviously I'm out of practice right now, I just pull back ever so gently on the trigger. Now you can go as tight, as small as you want with this. This is something that you can practice at your own leisure. Once you fill all this up, the next step in this exercise is to connect the dots. Again, I am way rusty on this. But once you start connecting the dots, you're going to learn to control where the airbrush starts. I mean, you don't. This is the wrong way to do the exercise. You don't want to just, that's not teaching you anything. You're not learning anything. You want to go dot to dot. And you want to start and stop. You want to actually go past, in your motion, in your movement, you want to go past the dots and only apply the paint in between them, if that makes sense. So let me try to demonstrate this a different way. What I'm going to do, start the air, come down here, put some tip dry, keep going, and then here, keep going. There are other exercises that you can do, which are known as the dagger stroke, or some people call them a rat tail. And so give those exercises a shot. Maybe that'll show up a little better on the camera. What you don't want, and this is what I had starting out, I don't know if you can see this, is you don't want this. You don't want to sit there. You're doing something wrong if you're getting spiders and centipedes, you know. You don't want that. You want to just, you know, the closer you get, the finer the line you can lay down. And with this particular setup, I can lay lines all the way down to the size of a pencil. And the reason I keep adjusting the air back down is the more air you have, the more tip dry you're going to get. So you don't want to have too much air pressure for the reduction of paint that you have. You want your paint viscosity to be correct, and then you also need your air pressure to be correct. For a gravity feed airbrush, I generally run, depending on how thin my paint is, anywhere between 10 and 35 psi. And I just keep dialing it back. Like right now, I don't even know what the gauge is reading. I really don't care at this point. I just know that I needed less air than what I was getting before. You know, when you're starting out, you want to leave that little air cap or air crown on there. Not to be confused with the safety tip that you put on there when you're storing your airbrush. It's completely different. You don't want to take this little thin needle and stab it up against a paper and bend the needle. That's going to ruin your needle, and you're going to have to Google how to straighten a bent needle. And even though that works, they're never as good as they were from the factory. Let me demonstrate that one time over here so that everybody can see exactly what I'm talking about. This guy's hollow. You know, it's a barrel, you can see right through it, and it goes on the tip of the airbrush here. Protects your needle. So once you get, this part is not necessary on this particular model. You will have airbrushes where this comes off. Got a couple badgers like this where that part comes off to clean the tip of the needle, and it's mandatory to put it back on. So you've done this practice, you're getting better at it, or you're getting bored with it, you want to move on, right? So these are what I call freehand templates, and what they allow you to do is get a hard edge with an airbrush, which is a very hard thing to do because the airbrush is meant to paint gradients. So how can you get a hard edge with an airbrush? Well, just like that. So you just kind of trace around with colors and your hard edges, and you can paint with your gradients that way. And what I'm doing here is I'm spraying kind of more on the cardboard than I am on the actual workpiece itself. So it gives you a nice little pattern or something or another right there. Different freehand templates for different shapes, obviously. Stands to reason, if you want a straight line, use a straight edge. You want one of them little holes right there, there you go. So you can come back and do something with that. Here's one of my favorites. It's a modified French curve. It's a home-drawn French curve is what it is. You can sit here and freehand any little shape that you want. And you know, do whatever it is, whatever shape that you want to do. You simply mask off the area that you don't want paint. Lay the paint down where you want it. The better you make your freehand templates, the more use, more abuse they'll stand up to. So I hope that helps you out a little bit about you know, freehand templates, what they're for. You're used to get a rough shape or an idea sketched out, give you some really sharp lines, and you can come back in and add some more detail. You want to be at the right distance to get the desired intensity or the desired line thickness from your airbrush, and you don't want to be too close and put down some sharp lines, because they're hard to color back in. It's hard to take paint off. It's easier to put more paint on. Now these particular freehand templates, obviously I put a lot of time into making these. If you want something with smoother edges, you know, you don't want this this torn look, which incidentally gives you a lot of micro details that you don't have to put in by hand, because the template does it for you. And you can also slide your template as you're painting. That's an interesting technique I've used a couple times. Like if you want to stutter something, for example, say you're doing, you're going to do some flames, and you want this particular lick to have a little bit more detail. Well, you can just, what I call stuttering, you just slide your template a little bit, and then you end up with like a double lick. Interesting little technique, helps out. Is I have some more freehand templates, set of French curves. Know a sign shop. You could download, you probably can't see these, but you could download a file or take them to a web page for any particular shape that you want, and have them cut them out of vinyl, and then you can detack the other side. Or they may not like this because it could ruin the blade, but if you feed the vinyl upside down, you end up cutting the backing paper instead of the vinyl. And I've used them many times. They're in a bunch of different shapes. And if you want to do some real tight end detail work and you want that hard edge, there's just no other way around it. You gotta have these things. And I personally believe that the ones you cut yourself, or the ones that you create, and maybe have somebody cut for you, but the ones that you create are the best. Now the other form of freehand template is exactly that. You're going to use your free hand. And you will get paint on you, but you can kind of get a softer shape by using your free hand. You can get a real controlled, not that sharp edge, but you can you know, do pretty cool things with this style of freehand template. Get it? Freehand. So you can do stuff that way as well. I've never been able to do it and get a sharp edge, and I'm a sucker for some detail, so I would have started with a template like this. The further away your template is from the paper, and we'll exaggerate quite a bit and bring this out, and you notice the difference. There's something, you know, maybe that'll fit your technique one day. So we got freehand templates. We got a freehand template. We got the plastic ones. You can buy these. You can buy them from any art store. With the freehand templates, your imagination is your only limit. So we'll work on this for another second or two. Now, before you get too carried away, something you need to realize is if you're this close and you're looking at your work, you can't truly see it for what it is. So let's back up, take a step back, look at it again, and you'll see it in a different light. And you can see that the shading is maybe a little spotty in this area over here, and it's not what I want. You know, I want shading to be a little bit more smooth or something, you know. So now that you got a pretty good idea of what how to lay down a little bit of color and some exercises, train your coordination, train your eyes at the same time. Maybe a free source of some practice paper. Like I said, if you can get your hands on stuff like this for, you know, it's doodle paper. It's a really nice stock too, so if you do turn out a nice piece on there, then cool. You know, throw it in a frame, tack it on the wall. Need a couple magnets to put this one on the front of the fridge, but hey, why not? So now you got your paint down. How do you get it back up? Well, this is the problem. Unless you got an electric eraser and a bunch of time on your hands, you're better off to not put the paint in the wrong place in the first place. Well, now you could have went back with some white and did the white highlights with the airbrush instead of the eraser. That's entirely up to you. You get a certain amount of control with the electric eraser, but you also have a certain amount of control with the airbrush. So it's entirely up to you. It's your technique. There is no right or there's no wrong. Well, I hope this helps you out. Hope maybe it gives you a little direction. You know, freehand templates, some beginner doodle and control exercises, and we touched on air pressure. Incidentally, I was talking about a a siphon feed, or I'm sorry, a gravity feed at first. A siphon feed is the kind where the paint cup is attached to the bottom of the airbrush. Like this guy right here. This is your Badger 175, I think it is, Crescendo 175. It's a siphon feed airbrush. The paint goes in the cup and the air goes over the top and sucks it up in there. You can do the same thing at McDonald's with a straw and blow across the top of the straw. It'll suck the soda up out of the straw, except for I wouldn't do it at McDonald's. They might not like that. But anyways, what I was saying before about some of these airbrushes at the top have an air cap or a crown, if you will, that has to stay on in order for the airbrush to work correctly. So if you have one of these, you look down in there and you see a bunch of holes. Let me see if I can trick the camera into focusing on a bunch of holes. Not so much. Then you're probably going to need your air cap on there. This is an air cap, whereas before I guess I was talking about something like a crown, or basically it's the protector for the needle, which this particular airbrush, the needle sticks out past the tip of the nose of the airbrush. So be very careful when you're using this style that you don't poke that into something. So now that you're done airbrushing, done for the day, and oh man, I still got a bunch of paint left in the cup. What do I do with it? Can I just dump it back in the bottle? No, don't do it. Paint is not that expensive. In fact, when you're starting off and you want to just do some doodling and practicing, you can practice on like any kind of ink that you would get from your local craft store, be it you know, Michael's or whatever it is that your favorite is. Ink works really well for practicing. It's super runny. You can use low air pressure. It atomizes very well, and you're where your compressor is not working overtime. But anyways, yeah. Do you save the paint? No. Once it's been mixed and reduced, you throw it away or you use it. So unless you got another project where you need some black paint, you're done with this color or you're done painting, well, if you're done with this color and you want to come back to it, I would recommend you get a second airbrush. And then you could keep them loaded in a couple different colors and wash them out at the end of the day when you're done. If not, you only have one airbrush like I did when I started out, well, you're going to have to clean it out and you're going to have to wash it out. So what do you do with the extra paint? Well, I got I featured this in a different video. It's a homemade cleaning pot, and this is, or a wash station. This is what it's intended for. Is you put the airbrush in there, pull the trigger back, all the paint goes down the tube, so to speak. All the paint ends up in here. The extra air, or the air comes out the top without paint, and when you hear it burp like that, it's clean. But the reason we do that, too messy doing it any other way, really. This catches all the mess. It's a decent design, so if you knock it over, you know, you can, you don't have to worry about it spilling. So that's what the old airbrush cleaning station, or airbrush cleaning pot. Well, I hope this helps you out. Go make some magic.